an expert in scaling and e-commerce business in the area of EU. What I have seen, he have spent more than 40 million euros in Facebook and Instagram ads, and he holds a record of more than 16,000 products sold within one day. He's also very good in influencer marketing, user-generated content, and something which I really like is that he started at age of 21, and for such a young age, he was able to experiment and gain confidence of the customers. And his presentations is going to be about e-commerce scaling in 2021. So let's welcome Jure.
Yo, what's up? Hey, Sergey. It was we actually did a great job with the name pronunciation. So congrats on that. Cool. Can I share a screen and start?
As you wish.
Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. So first, thank you very much for the invite. Today my session will be around like e-commerce scaling, what's working in this age. So what I see working in this year in 2021, or I also name it my 5 lesson of generating 135 million e-commerce revenue in Europe. So as you said a little bit about me, so I started with the age of 21 doing marketing and e-commerce. I'm originally from Slovenia. So I started obviously in my local countries, and down the road, I actually learned a lot of things about how to actually open new markets, which channels can you actually use for like scaling or growing the businesses, e-commerce businesses. Since day one, my biggest passion was performance marketing, content creation, and CRO to actually attract like what can we do to actually find the right users for our products. So during my career, I actually scaled 3 businesses from 0 to 8 figures. So one of them actually grew from 0 to 50 million yearly revenue within 4 years. And the latest win that we as a company has is that we actually grow one business from 0 to 4.1 million monthly revenue in Europe. So today I would like to share you some strategies, what we are doing and what we are seeing working within this year, because obviously we have some challenging times with the privacy issues and some of the tracking going away, but I still believe that there's a lot of room for the right businesses and for building a brand on the long term. And throughout my whole career, I think 2 things helped me the most. I believe that the people that will also speak later today will discuss it. So for me, it was fast and often failing and fast learning. So basically try to test everything. And if we jump right into the topic, the first lesson so I'll share 5 lessons with you. Nothing on top of that, only 5. So if you start with the first one, the first advice or lesson that I have for you is to be native. So what does it mean like being native? Because obviously we read so many blogs about different strategies, what's working, what's not on the internet. We try to implement different strategies. We try to implement same strategies on same platforms. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to be native to the platform that you actually communicate on. So the really good quote that I really love is that automation and optimization are kings, but content creation is King Kong. So with that, I actually believe that we need to actually build a machine for content creation that enables us to produce native content on the advertising platform that we are testing and we are advertising on, and basically try to build a machine there to enable you to produce and test as many content and concept as possible. Because what I saw in several different cases was that for me, one business can go like from 0 to 6 or 7 figures with only like finding the right channel and try to leverage one channel. But I think down the road, if you want to create like more sustainable business and bigger business on the market, or become big player on the market, I think you actually needs to come down to actually really build like a machine for content creation to enable you to actually produce the native content and scale with different platforms. So one advice that I actually have for you is that try to actually connect with, first is it could be like your team that can actually produce like user generated content. The second one could be influencers. So influencer meaning TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, YouTubers, and so on. So people that actually are producing their content, and try to connect with them with your e-commerce store and negotiate with deal with them to actually produce the content for you. Because one thing that we actually saw that was a huge increase for us was when we actually found the right people, that we actually found like 10 to 20 people per brand that actually produce the content for us on the monthly basis. And that enables us to actually test as many content as possible to find the winners on the personas, the concepts, the hooks. We also use them on not only in the marketing channel, but also for the web stores, to be able to actually give like the social proof. So we use the team, so you can produce the user generated content. We use influencers, and we use content creators on top of that. So content creators meaning people that are actually producing their content in their free time, so, or professionally. So it could be like photographers, videographers. It could be also students. One thing that also work amazingly for us is that we actually connect with local photographers. For example, we actually connected just with one photographer in Bali. We send them the product, they produce the user-generated content for us, and we use it for the brand on several different platforms, and it works like really amazingly. And this is also the brand that is right now doing 4 million on the monthly revenue, bootstrap. So if we connected to that, if we go to the lesson number 2, for me, the lesson number 2 was the power of the influencers. So how can actually influencers, celebrities, ambassadors can help you like grow your brand within like local country and going to the international markets. And how we usually do it is that we try to aim for several different objectives with them. So one of them I already mentioned, so is content creation. But I think one thing that, so some of the things that are also really valuable, and I think you should also keep in mind, are brand awareness, sales. So obviously we saw that influencers, celebrities are really good sales channels as well. And with influencers, I don't only mean like Instagram influencers. We saw a lot of success also with YouTube influencers, with TikTok influencers. So we try to actually connect with influencers that are on the platform that we try to be present on. So besides that, also one famous example, I believe that a lot of you actually are in the countries that also like About You is present in. So they also use like big influencer marketing campaign to open new market. This is one thing that we also do. So it's basically like trying to gain the credibility on the new market with the help of the local celebrities or influencers to give you like the social proof to enable you to get some traction on the market. So another thing is like introduce new products. One thing that worked amazingly well, I also have it on the next slide, is that when you, let's say for a clothing brand, you connect with one bigger influencers and you create a product line with the collaboration of the influencers. So here we have one really amazing example that Stronger did. So they actually connected with an influencer that I think had like 1.2 million followers, and they actually produced a product line with the collaboration with her. But with influencers, I don't only mean like the big influencers that have like 1 million plus or 100 plus. We saw really amazing success also working together with the influencers that are between 10K to 50K or 60K. So this is one advice that I also have with you. If you have like a brand that is visual or also a service, we saw that combining like influencers with paid social or different channels, also email marketing, works really well, and it helps you build up the presence and the credibility on the existing market and when you try to open new market. So if we go directly to lesson number 3, I know that people that will also present after me will also explain like several different channels and tactics. What can be done is, so the multi-channel, the question is always how to create an optimal mix. So how to actually be present on which channel to be present, and also on how many channels to create like an optimal user experience. So my advice for you first would be like start with 1 or 2 and have in mind like that you have like different types of channels. So you have on one end, you have push marketing channels. So this is basically a channel when one person is not searching for your product, but you actually are creating a demand. So the practical example for this is like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest, TikTok, YouTube. So this is basically the platforms that you are actually pushing your products or services to the broad audience or to the top of the funnel to actually create a demand. So my advice for you would be to start at least with 1, because in the majority of the examples that I see is that the companies usually start with only 1, let's say, push or pull, and either they have a problem of not catching the people that are already searching for the products. So this is pull marketing. For example, this is like Google, Amazon, and so on. So this is basically when people are searching for the product and you appear at the right place at the right time. And so I believe that the optimal combination for starters is to combine like first 1 push channel, 1 pull channel, and then when you get some traction on the markets, add retention channel. So retention channel meaning it could be like loyalty program that are actually implemented directly from your side. You can use also some apps for that, or more preferred ones are email marketing and SMS marketing. And another thing that I think it comes down the road is the brand building channel. To actually, I think this post from my very good friend John Hagen really says it a lot. So I think I totally agree with him. So the paid social is for acquisition. You can also put like the search channels here. So the email marketing and SMS marketing are for margins. Organic channels are for community, and influencers, affiliate, public relations, customers, and people grow the brand. So this is for brand building. It sounds simple, but when it comes to practice, it's a little bit hard to implement. But my advice for you would be to always keeping to thinking about, do I have like the majority of the channels covered? So the purpose of the channel, do I have the purposes of the channels covered, and what can I do to actually grow down the road? And then we come to the small or big problem. So during my career, at the early stages of my career, I actually ran into a huge problem. And this problem is that Slovenia, so this is the country that I'm originally coming from, is really small. So when we started like advertising back in 2014, so in Slovenia, there was, so the total population is like 2 million people, and on our preferred channel back then was Facebook, and the population there was 800 people. And obviously with 800,000 people, you actually hit the ceiling pretty fast. So we actually start generating like 100, 200K per month, and then we hit the ceiling. And what we found is that we will actually need to like expand to other markets to increase our potential of growing. So we came up with the concept, or I don't know if we came up with the concept, but we implemented the idea of global. So this is like going global with localized approach, because our first step back then was that we tried to actually go to other markets with English language to test the market. But we saw that in Europe, a lot of markets actually are performing really poorly when you communicate in English. So we actually decided that we want to localize, and we see that this is basically like in every market in Europe, this is like generating so much better performance than like going simply like English, target the whole Europe and let the algorithm work. So what we do is that we localize language on the website, customer support, prices, ad creatives, copy, influencers, PR, payment method, certificates. So basically play like a local player in the new countries that we are present in. So like some examples of going global is going local is like About You, or one thing, a German brand that is also like doing really amazingly is Hello Body. So I believe a lot of you actually know these two brands. And my last lesson is that I learned it maybe the harder way. So is to, on the long term, to build a sustainable business. So with in 2021, we saw that we have like some of the channels are crashing, the privacy issue, the tracking. We don't know if we will have the tracking this year or in the next few years. There is low loyalty. New competitors are coming on the market each month. So I think it comes down to like try to build a sustainable business or brand in the long term. So for the short term, we also use this for the partners that we work with. So in the short term, we want to obviously focus on profit. So we try to create like a direct response approaches to actually introduce the product to as many people as possible. And on the our long-term game is try to actually to build up the brand in the markets that we are present in. So I think in this year or in the upcoming years, to tell you the truth, I believe that there will be only place for life improving products and brands. I don't see that many businesses that sell like really shitty products will actually exist. And I think it comes down to like going from branded products, creating a brand, and then building a tribe of people that will actually be your ambassadors and your most loyal customers, and actually do the word of mouth for you, so you can actually grow the business. One amazing example, I believe, is the Gymshark. I know that a lot of you know this brand. And to sum up my presentation is, so to give you my top 5 lessons again, is first to be native on the platform that you advertise. Number 2 is use influencers. Use influencers not only on the organic side, but try to implement it also on your paid side, and try to implement it on multiple different channels. So 3 is create a multi-channel, not depend only on one channel, because this can hurt you down the road. Number 4 is go local when you open new markets. And number 5 is to focus on sustainability. So this is it from our side. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. And if you have some questions, we will answer them when all the talks are done. So thank you very much. Oh, I love this one.
Yeah. Hello, Jure. Thank you. Yeah. I decided to make it as interactive as much as we can. Thank you so much for the presentation, for your main 5 suggestions. So now from Slovenia we are going to Romania. Again, it's they are within our region. In our because I'm from Bulgaria, and we have Andra Baraga. She will speak about fueling your e-commerce growth through conversion research. What Andra share with us that yeah, probably I will start with something that she's a CEO of the company. She's one of the conversion optimized specialists in certified in data analyst. She worked with over 80 online businesses and brought over six figures of revenue to them. She's the founder, and she created this conversion rate optimization agency. Something which was funny and I really love it is that she's at the beginning she was not so digital at all. I'm very surprised, and I think that yeah, she's the kind of person who really loves to see her creatures, her masterpiece in a real world. So she worked as a real estate agent, and she was managing construction sites, then selling custom built engineering equipment for factories. So for me, it's like being from one side going to another, which I really love it, because we know that during our life we are constantly changing, and at the end we need to find what really suits us and what really make us happy. So I'm really curious to see Andra's presentation, and she will present us, as I mentioned, fueling your e-commerce growth through conversion research. So Andra, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sergey. And thank you for the introduction. Yes, I wanted to share the story. I mean, just that I didn't only do digital marketing, and sometimes it feels like you need to start since you're a toddler just to build an agency or to have a name in digital marketing. And I think I just wanted everyone to know that it's never too late to learn a new skill, to do something new. So yeah, just as you said, find what you love, and it should be good. And yeah, going to the presentation, I'll share my screen here with you. And yeah, going back to the subject about me, let's say, as you mentioned, I'm the founder of OnTrack Digital. We're a conversion rate optimization agency. Over the years, we've specialized on e-commerce growth. We started out as doing CRO for anyone and everyone, and really no client was below us, or no client was too small for us to manage. But over the years, we've developed our own framework, and we started focusing on e-commerce because I feel like it's where we can bring a lot of value. It's also when you focus on one industry, you develop your own way of working and your own processes, and you get better at that. I feel like agencies or practitioners that handle everything in all industries, they either have a really good system that I need to find about, or they're not doing such a great job. So I feel like being laser focused on a specific industry will help you deliver the top results that clients will be looking for, and that will help you as an agency or as a practitioner, or as just a professional to be really well seen in your industry. Again, as you mentioned, we're helping online stores get more sales. We're a team of 8. We're growing. It's really amazing to see everyone in the team meetings. But going to the conversion rate optimization. So I started out doing conversion rate optimization after doing media buying and traffic acquisition. And while I was doing that, I felt like I can bring so much traffic to the website, and I can to my clients' websites, but still not get the results that they're looking for. And that's where I saw this gap, let's say, between what the clients, what the users are seeing when they're clicking an ad or clicking an article or a link on a website, and then what they get to see and what the experience really is when they're landing on the website. So that's where I got into conversion rate optimization. I didn't even know it was really called conversion rate optimization. I'm not really proud of the first optimization programs that I ran. Now looking back, I think I could point out some mistakes that I made then. But yeah, after all the mistakes and all the experience and learning, I ended up developing this CRO framework, which is super simple. It just has 5 steps, but it's a way for you and everyone that manages an online store or just a website. Really, it doesn't have to be. We'll focus on online stores now, but some of the learnings here will apply on any industry, really. They will help you understand where your users are dropping off, why they're dropping off, how you compare to your competition, what the experience is like on the website. And you'll get a full set of problems, issues, and opportunities for growth. And then you'll get another set of testing hypotheses and opportunities to improve and to do better for your users just by using a simple 5-step framework. So I'll explain really briefly about it. The quantitative research is basically numbers. So after you're sure that you're looking at the right numbers, so always start with an analytics health check. Make sure you're tracking everything correctly. But after you've done that, the quantitative research basically points out what is working and what is not working. The qualitative research will point out why it's not working and why things are the way they are. So it's, you start with the what, and then you go to the why. And the heuristic research will, it's basically, I mean, it's a fancy name for a walkthrough, really, of the website and a UX analysis. You just get yourself in the client's shoes, let's say, or the user's shoes, and walk through the website and see what obstacles there are, see if the copy is clear, if the message is relevant to their to what the users might be looking for. So all of these research segments will lead you to, as I mentioned, the set of problems that you will want to fix, but you won't know exactly what works for your clients, for your users, what works and what doesn't work. So that's why you're doing testing hypotheses, and those you will do through A/B testing. I think all of you have heard of it, or some of you are also doing it. And I know there's a presentation on A/B testing and focused on emails. We're focusing our A/B testing on the user experience on the website. So that's basically the framework that we follow in our agency and that we follow with all clients. The story here is super long. Just to compress in 15 minutes, I thought the most valuable thing I can share with you is a segment of our qualitative research, and more in detail is the customer research. Basically, the customer research is about 3-4 main things. You start with the motivations of the users. I mean, that's the most important. You can have a really shitty website, and still, if your product does what it says it does, and if it's addressing a problem that's very important to the user, you will sell and you will have an audience. However, the idea is to get your website in the best form possible in your online store. But yeah, you start with the user's motivations. So how will your product make their life better? How will you do what will you do for them, and why they're there? If they want to look better, feel better, be healthier, I don't know, depending on the product you're selling, you should first know why that user would want your product, first of all. Then the objections, the opposite of what would make them buy your product is what would make them not buy your product, and what would make them, even worse, what would make them choose your competitor's product. So the objections, motivations, you need to learn about them before doing too much on your website. And then fears, uncertainties, doubt is the FUD. I think you've seen, maybe if you've seen other webinars or courses on CRO and e-commerce, you'll see this formula here. It's basically around why the user, what would prevent the user from buying. And it can be super small things like you don't have enough reviews, you're not showing the payment options very visibly, you don't have a contact address, which will cause anxiety in the user, and they'll just think maybe this is a scam, or maybe this is not a good product, or maybe they're not a good brand. So always try to think of these things when you're creating a new page, you're creating a new product. Just get in the mind of the user, and that's the entire idea behind the customer research. And I have some techniques that we use. I don't know if okay, I'll just move myself here. I don't know if you're seeing the window that was covering, but we have a few techniques that we use whenever we do a conversion audit for our clients. So when we do this customer research, let's say, we have a few techniques that we follow, and I'll just share some insights and some tips and tricks on how you can run these for your business or for your clients in a way that you get the most value out of them without putting in millions of hours of work, which is always the goal for anyone in this industry. So we start out with customer surveys. Customer surveys are being sent to recent buyers. So it shouldn't be more than 30-40 days since they purchased, but you want to make sure that you send out the customer survey after they've received the product. So if you're selling physical products, don't send out an email asking, how's our product, leave a review here, if they didn't receive the product, because that will cause so much frustration that you'll get the opposite of what you're looking for with the with the customer survey and with getting some good feedback from your client. But basically, in the customer survey, you want to ask a few questions. These are some of the usual questions we ask. Based on each client, we'll tailor them a bit. But the idea is, what can you tell us about yourself? It's basically just finding out the demographics, validating it a bit, like their job, how old they are, gender, location. And you can get most of these from analytics, but they're a lot more valuable when you hear them from people that actually purchased your product. You'll get to see that the product might appeal to a specific audience that you couldn't really get in the analytics or Hotjar data that you have. And it's a good intro. People love talking about themselves, so just ask a bit about themselves before you start asking about your business and your product and just getting the stuff you need. What made you buy our products? You'll get their words here. So this was a really old classic copywriting tip that if you're selling golfing equipment, for example, you need to go to the library. I mean, it was from the time when you'd have to go to the library to get information on something. Go to the library, get the top 10 golfing books, and just read the table of contents from each. Because what that does is it helps you get the wording and the terms that they use. So every audience has their own specific language, let's say. And when you ask users, what made you buy our product? And if you could use one word to describe your experience or our product, what you're actually getting is copywriting gold that you can use for your sales copy afterwards. So if you might describe your product as the best, the #1 tea to make your skin glow. I don't know if there's a product for that. If it is, I want it. But you can describe it as the #1 tea, and then your clients might describe it as a lifesaver. It makes me feel super beautiful. I don't know. I mean, just get their language and use their language to get similar audience. I've seen this as gold. I mean, just it really helps, because the way you express yourself and the way a specific, and Yura was mentioning this about tribes. Each tribe has their own language, so this way you can actually get that language from them. Then doubts and hesitation before buying. Like I said before, it's about motivation, it's about objections. So doubts and hesitations will point out some stuff that maybe you're not thinking about that's an issue. So for example, I couldn't find my size in American sizes, let's say, because you have European sizes and I couldn't see which size I should get, or that's a major problem for most clothing companies. Sizing is still an issue, and is still we still don't have the perfect solution for it. Or materials, I didn't see enough information about the materials. I didn't know if you're a sustainable company. Sustainability is massive right now in e-commerce. So anyway, you'll get a list of doubts and hesitations, and you'll be able to address them through A/B testing, like I've seen you, or just fixing some stuff. Then what would you miss if you could not use our products anymore? Again, this I feel is a golden question, and although you might feel it's repeating what made you buy our products, it's actually here you're getting the actual benefit for the user. So for example, I was working with a shaving kit company. So they were selling blades and shaving accessories. And what would you miss if you could not use our product services? Users were always replying like, "Oh, I would miss the really close shave. I would miss the accessibility of it. I would miss." They really came out in this question much more than what made you buy our products, which was the answers we got there were usually, I saw an ad on Facebook, I saw an ad on Instagram, it seemed like a good idea. I mean, really not relevant. When you ask them what they would miss, it was just like pure gold there. And then one big thing we are missing, and this actually helps you develop new products, I feel, or expand into a new branch. So for example, on the shaving side, let's say on this shaving example, a lot of users wanted shaving cream. So they didn't sell it and they had to buy it somewhere else. And these kits were sent directly to their home. So it would be super convenient if they actually sold shaving foam as well. So they added that to their kits, and the average order value increased a lot. So of course, it's a really good way to find out what you can add to your offering. So customer survey, send them by email, send them after, I mean, not more than 30 days, 30, 40 days. You want the information to be fresh in their minds, but also don't send before they got their products, because that will piss people off. Then user testing. It can be a bit expensive if you're using user testing platforms like we're using UserBrain or user testing, Try My UI. There are several service providers that are doing this, but you can also, I mean, not in the times of COVID, but before before the whole pandemic, you could just go out to a bar, buy 5 people a beer, and just show them the website on your phone, or ask them to browse it on their phones. And you would get a lot of valuable insight and maybe make some new friends, who knows. But user testing is about getting people to go through a scenario on the website that you're looking to optimize, and having them think out loud while they're doing that. So for example, on a clothing website, Yura was mentioning About You. I'm a client. So ask them, if you're optimizing About You, ask them to pick a dress for, or a suit for a wedding they have in 5 days. I don't know. Add the dress to their cart, go to the checkout, do all sorts of things that a regular user would do, and they would comment and they say, but I can't find my size, or I wonder if I can find this in blue, or I mean, they'll have all sorts of questions that and comments and things they will point out that will actually be very useful for you as a business owner, as an optimizer. So the insights there, they're super valuable. Another good tip for user testing is you can include a competitor in the mix and see how they feel, or how they go through the competitor's website. Compare the two, and you might see some differences that are keeping you behind the competitor, let's say, which is not what you'd want. Then site polls. Site polls, you've seen these annoying little things on websites. I know they're annoying. We're always getting a bit of a barrier from clients. They don't really feel like putting this on their website, which I get. But you run them for a week or two, not more. And you run the site polls only where you see in your quantitative research that you have a drop-off point. So let's say we're doing a funnel analysis for an e-commerce, and we're seeing people are dropping off majorly on the product page. They're not adding to their cart. So They're browsing through 1 million products. They're going through all the pages. When it comes down to adding to their cart, they're not doing it. Yeah. So we're going to run the side poll only on the product page and only laser focused question on something that you want to find out. So what are your doubts or hesitation related to this product? Why are you not adding this to your cart? What information were you looking for and could not find? The idea is you'll get a lot of bad answers. Yeah.
Andra, are we finishing?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Sorry.
Are we finishing? Yeah, just because it takes more time.
Yeah. It's 2 more slides and I'm done. Sorry, I was. Yeah, right away. So the side polls, they're very useful for you to fix drop-off points in the funnel. So these you can run for a week or 2, so that should be absolutely fine. Then live chat transcripts. If you have a live chat on your website, get the main points that users are asking. So just see what their issues are. If they want to focus on, you'll see some issues that come out of the transcripts. And the conclusion is to always listen to your customers, even if they can seem crazy sometimes, because you will get answers that are really not useful, but most of them will be pure gold to you. And you might think you know your users, but actually you'll find out a completely different story from this research. So listen to them and just take notes on what they're saying. So yeah, do A/B testing if you can, as much as possible, for an improved user experience, increased conversion rates, more transactions, and higher revenue. And that was that. Sorry for the if it took longer, but thank you for your time, and I hope this was a good, valuable information for you. So, thank you. Yay.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for your talk. What I will ask the audience, I can't start my video. I know. Okay, so please use the Q&A section to raise your question, and we will try to include most of the questions during the panel. So now, after Andra from Romania, we are going to Germany. Our next speaker is going to be Ahmet Cema. He's from Ecom Maniac. Ahmet is the founder and managing director of Ecom Maniacs, an e-commerce retention marketing agency based in Berlin. He helped more than 50 companies. Yeah, sorry, to grow their bottom line revenue. But also, what is interesting about him is that after his graduation, he started working in different roles as a digital marketing in a small B2B networking organization. Then he worked as email marketing. Also, then he works as a sales marketing and sales rep. And at the end, he decided that what he learned from marketing and sales can be combined and start a marketing agency. Also, he knows many languages and loves football. And also, what I saw, he's in a good shape. So he will talk about topic. His topic is going to be about A/B testing, your way to success in e-commerce email marketing. And let's give a floor to Ahmet Cema.
Thank you, Sergey, for the intro. Lectures. Let me share my screen. Here we go. Do you guys see my screen? Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes in the chat.
Yeah, we can see it. Ahmet, can I ask you to be in 50 minutes or even less?
Yeah, I have a timer actually, so I'm good.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect, cool. So as you guys probably have seen from the previous presentations, e-commerce is booming, and omni-channel is the way to go with e-commerce. So you already talked about like all the paid or the cold traffic channels and how influencer marketing, how paid ads, how CRO, how like Fuel and everything together should yield the best results for your e-commerce store in 2021. And Andra talked about CRO and how to how to optimize your website so that they convert best. I think basically retention marketing is kind of a complementary topic to what have been discussed, and it's basically yeah, the next thing after you drive traffic to your website, qualified traffic, then usually you have a converting website, and as soon as yeah, you fix that, then you should work on retention, which is retaining your customers and increasing their lifetime value with your brand. So yeah, today's topic is A/B testing, your way to success in e-commerce email marketing. A/B testing is a huge thing in e-commerce for many reasons. We're gonna go over them in the presentation. So a bit about me, as I said, so I'm a managing director of Ecom Maniacs. I helped plus 50 companies increase their bottom line revenue with at least 30% revenue share coming from retention marketing. And with retention, we mean SMS, email, push notifications, and Messenger. I am an ex-employee of Wayfair, which is a Fortune 500 company, and I'm a certified Klaviyo Master, which is an ESP for e-commerce. It's one of the fastest growing ESPs. And also I'm a certified expert from Netcore Inbox Expo. Cool. So A/B testing today, today's overview is going to be mainly quickly going over the definition, types of A/B testing. Oops. Yeah. Why A/B testing? How to approach A/B testing? What should I A/B test in email marketing? And how to build a split testing hypothesis. Then we're going to go over the ideas, how to source them, and yeah, I'm going to throw in some ideas for A/B tests. Then we're going to go over the concrete steps for A/B tests. And last but not least, we're going to evaluate the results and teach you how to evaluate holistically. And in the end, a couple of recommendations. So what is A/B testing? It's basically a method in which marketers compare two versions of an email. Example, version A versus version B. It could be also version C and D and many others to see which email performs better. It's important that yeah, you keep an eye on significance, on statistical significance when you run A/B tests, because yeah, if you don't have it, then you don't have reliable data. So two types of A/B tests. For short-term A/B testing, you want to go for this kind of share where you have one control version, which is usually a winner, a consistent winner in the past. You give it 80% of the traffic or 80% of the sends in your email campaign, and the rest 10% or 20% should be divided over 2 or 3 alternatives, which are usually new and different. For long term, you should go for maybe an even split 50-50, because there you have yeah, more reliable data. Basically, you're not sampling here. Basically, you're given just equal and even chances for both alternatives, and yeah, you reach significance much faster. Yeah, so why A/B testing? So yeah, I'm gonna show you here why A/B testing.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
That is crazy. So yeah, basically, if you are a business owner or a marketer and you don't A/B test, you're basically insane, because you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting things to change or things to improve, which is not possible. A/B testing is also showing more respect to your clients or to your customers. Keith Pei, who is an e-commerce consultant, very famous one, she talks about this a lot. And basically, she explains this by saying that, yeah, when you A/B test, you're asking people about what they like, and you're giving them the chance to express themselves by engaging or disengaging. And the second thing also, you're conducting an indirect survey. So you're not actively asking them for their opinion, and you're basically observing them. indirectly, which is also very important. Next, so yeah, A/B testing also means more revenue because yeah, it's being said on Litmus Live conference 2017 that e-com brands that A/B test their emails generate 20% more revenue on average. Cool. So if you hear all of those, then you say, oh, A/B testing is the way to go. I need to A/B test everything, which is yeah, which is fine. I mean, if you have yeah, the means and you have everything, you should go for A/B testing because that leads to better data-led decisions. You turn opinions into facts, and you learn about your audience much more than ever before, and you try experimental, unconventional ideas. However, yeah, and you also reduce the risk of yeah, putting all your eggs in one basket. However, when you A/B test, you want to consider main other things that are mainly your data. Do you have enough data? Do you have enough traffic coming to your website? Do you have enough traffic or enough sends on your email list? Also, you need to watch out for the resources because you'll be doing double the work or triple the work or even more. And also, not everything needs to be tested because there are some basics in marketing that you shouldn't question or like waste your time questioning, basically. So how to approach A/B testing? Yeah, so there's version A, which is yeah, something, and version B, which is something plus a slight change. So you want to test one variable at a time. You don't want to test a lot of things simultaneously because then you run into an issue of attribution. Like, when do you know if the clouds here are bringing the uplift in the performance instead of the unicorn? It's very important. In A/B testing, you want to go for an iterative process. You don't go for an ad hoc. Basically, you want to be strategic about your A/B tests, and you want to apply learnings, do research, create hypotheses, set up and run the tests, review the results. Again, apply the learnings from those results, and go on and on and on. Basically, it's an iterative process. It's a long-term thing. Yeah, so how to basically create this? You start with a hypothesis. You discover which version delivers the best result. Then you get insights about the audience. Then you roll out those insights usually to other channels. It could be the landing pages. It could be the paid ads channels. Okay, so usually the next question is just like, hey, what should I A/B test? Do you have any suggestions? Well, first, as I think Elena said, like, you need to learn where to source your ideas from, and it's usually customer service. It's usually comments on Facebook. It's usually like any touch point with your customers, basically. So you check their ads, you check the competitors' sites, you check on-site behavior with tools like Hotjar and all that stuff. And also you check your record of A/B tests in the past. So how to build an email hypothesis? It's very important to build on hypothesis. Otherwise you run into wrong or assumptions or like, yeah, unreliable tests. So you start with an hypothesis. You say, hey, I think that by making this change, it will cause this thing. It's very important. And then you should be able to say, this is true or this is false. And yeah, because of this change of that change. So it's very important to have that framework. And for example, here, emotional question will generate more sales than a directive statement. How to test this hypothesis? You focus on the factors that need to be tested here, which are usually the subject line, the CTA, the title, the copy, because that's where you test an emotional question, right? And same goes for the other examples. So A/B testing ideas, there's a huge list. I'm going to skip through it. Like, I'm going to jump through them quickly. Basically, you can test the headers of your emails. You can test the imagery within your emails. Like an image should feature a woman and an image should feature a man or something. You test the CTAs, something like learn how, or buy now, or shop now, or discover this new collection, or so you test multiple variations. You test the forms. So like on the forms, you test the number of fields, the field layout, the field copy. You can also test the order of the sections where something should be featured. And then designs like the spacing, the colors, the font styling. The offers, you want to introduce different offers, whether it's a discount in the price, or in terms of dollars, or in terms of percentage, or in terms of free shipping, or basically you test out different offers. Whether the pop-up is going to be like in emails, it's going to be a horizontal or full screen or vertical. So there's a lot of options. You can segment, you can test the delay time, you can test the referral URL for pop-ups as well. So yeah, these are a few ideas. There's much more. So how to implement a split test? It's, again, basic. You first decide that you're going to learn more about your audience. That's your intention. Then you identify an objective. Okay, I want to A/B test, I don't know, like implementing an emotional subject line in my emails. And then you identify the question that you want to answer. Then you formulate the hypotheses. Then you select the factors to be tested. Then you identify success metrics. In my case, it's going to be the open rates, or it's going to be the engagement rate. So those are things that I need to watch out or keep an eye on when I A/B test. And then in the end, you want to let the test run long enough to reach statistical significance. Repeat the test a couple of times to make sure that it's actually reliable result that you are getting. And then record your tests over time to make sure that you have a catalog of tests you've run over time. And then analyze and learn. And in the end, roll out the learnings to other channels. So how to evaluate the results? This is a very tricky question, a very important question. So usually you have like some numbers like this. You have the opens, you have the clicks, and you have the conversions or the conversion rate. For variant A, the conversion rate is slightly lower than variant B. Usually you'd go, okay, now I have a higher conversion rate on variant B, then variant B is the winner. Well, not really, because well, first you look at the open rates. Usually you see variant A has a higher open rate. That's not what you're interested in. You're interested in conversions. Conversion rate is higher at variant B. Like, this is not very conclusive. So you go for revenue or average order value. Okay, variant A brought me a higher average order value. Okay, that's much more interesting now. So if I have a slightly lower conversion rate but a higher average value, average order value, then I should probably look at the revenue overall. I don't have to look at these kind of top of funnel metrics. Okay, so revenue, I have variant A has brought me, I don't know, 48K, and variant B brought me 43K. So variant A is a winner. Well, you wish, because you need to keep an eye on the unsubs. Okay, what does that mean? Usually when you send emails, you have certain people that get annoyed by that email, or they find it irrelevant, or you're spamming them, or for some reason they unsubscribe. And so you need to keep an eye on that unsubs rate. And why do you want to keep an eye on it? Because basically you're having people that used to be customers, and they're very likely to keep being a customer. They unsubscribe. And there's a saying in e-commerce that it's, I think, 5 times easier to keep a customer than to convert a new one, than to acquire a new customer. So unsubs are very costly for businesses. And you want to calculate the cost of future revenue lost when those unsubs happen. So you actually calculate the unsubs rate multiplied by, basically you calculate the unsubs by the lifetime value of those unsubscribed people. There's different ways on how to calculate the customer lifetime value, but you definitely want to calculate it, and you want to know your numbers, and you want to know each unsubs, how much it costs you. And so if the lifetime value is 300 euros or so, then you're losing by these unsubs future revenue that is close to, I don't know, 21K or 20K or so on and so forth. And that's how you decide on version A versus version B. You want to have a holistic approach. You want to see all the metrics. But when it comes to email, there's not only revenue, and a lot of marketers, especially like the scalers, they pay a lot of attention to aggressive acquisition, revenue, profits, which is fine, which is usually very important in the early stages. But it's not. Yeah, I have a couple of minutes. Yeah.
You have a couple of seconds, so yeah, if you can,
I have it's ranked for
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, give me 1 minute. Okay, so yeah, it's very important to pay attention to the engagement metrics, which are very, very relevant for sustainability, as the guys mentioned before. So you want to pay attention to increased repeat visits coming from email. You want to check the engagement and how it's increasing over time. You want to check if how performance is doing over time, and yeah, actually there's a nice graph here that basically translates the needs of your customers into sorry for the typo here, but yeah, it translates the needs of your customers into engagement metrics. For example, if the customer is looking for stimulation and entertainment, then you want to focus on re-engagement, and that's your metric: increase repeat visits. If they're looking for inspiration or so, then you should do your work to decrease, I don't know, like costs to achieve certain like KPIs or certain goals, or these are the metrics that you need to pay more attention to, because these metrics usually tend to be neglected in email marketing, in digital marketing in general, because most people are focused only on revenue, which is fine, but not very sustainable. Cool, so recommendations, last slide. So set up a test and stream for your automated programs and update them with new tests when necessary. So yeah, keep a track record, know your end goal, and set up tests in order so that you know what's next, and you have like a clear roadmap on what to test going forward. Use a hypothesis, it's very important. Use a framework for testing, then test factors sequentially, not simultaneously. This is very important because if you test stuff simultaneously, you might run into attribution issues, and that can messes up your results. Then A/B testing is not needed all the time. Pay attention to this. You don't have to A/B test like, I don't know, like basic stuff and waste your time with inefficient and ineffective stuff. Then don't let the numbers deceive you, especially the top of funnel numbers. Pay attention to the bottom line. Pay attention to the unsubs. Pay attention to churn and all that kind of stuff. Then keep running tests until it's statistically significant. Very important. Otherwise, you're basically doing nothing. And then record your results. And last but not least, apply the learnings to other channels. And other channels means Facebook with paid ads and email like SMS and all that sorts of stuff. Cool. Thank you so much. And if you wish to connect, you can scan this QR code and connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you. Oops, yeah, I should probably keep sharing. Oops, wait, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you for such a detailed presentation. And now we come to the last presentation, and stay tuned and raise your question below. Just give me a second to share my screen, and we're starting. Yeah. Share screen. This one. Okay. So, hello, that's me, Sergey. So now what I will speak about is, I know it's a very exotic topic. I will have less time, but I will try to make it much easier for you to understand such kind of crazy things like machine learning, like BI, like AIs, how they can be done on e-commerce website. And I try to keep this on a business level. So let's see. Did I manage it? About me, I mean, I'm dealing with data in e-commerce. In 2015, we created a data science society. We have more than 5,000 members. Then we created a company, ShopUp, which started 5 years ago with the focus in retail and e-commerce. And last year we launched the Catwing, which is a data science platform for e-commerce. About the agenda, I will tell you about the story, about that concept, and then something probably which one I will love to remember at the end is about this data pyramid, then different providers and kind of some of solutions. So the story is that we all know it's very sexy and very cool if you can base your take your decision based on data. If you apply different models like Amazon, like Walmart, like the others, but what it costs and can we achieve that in with recent technologies? And here the focus is for small and medium e-commerce shops. So what we identify in ShopUp that there are 5 main areas which can be optimized. The first one is e-shop management. It's this one where we are focusing on what are the products, what kind of variability, how you update them, are they available, not available. Then it's supplier relationship, how you deal with the different providers. Then comes with the sales management, the whole model of sales. Then it comes the customer relationship, the interaction with the customer, and then the marketing when you take care of the funnel, just to put more leads into the funnel and make more profit. So the first 3, we identify that most of the optimizations which can be done, they come from the platforms itself, like Shopify, like WooCommerce, OpenCart, and different kind of it. So it's a little bit hard there to access the data and make a kind of optimization, but for customer relationship and marketing, it's much easier. And for that reason, what I want to introduce you is the data pyramid. The data pyramid is something called data science pyramid. Is something which we know, like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it was important to start gathering all the data and start digitalize the presence of our customers. But now it's a little bit more complicated. And for this one, we have data acquisition, we have data engineering. In data acquisition stuff, it is the place where we gather data from our website, from the behavioral click. We call it click data, which is not the Google Analytics itself. It's like data which we can identify what each person is doing on your website, where it clicks. We have also different social media. We have also direct marketing from your emails, how the people, are they opening, are they closing, and then multi-channel, how they then go to your website. This is the data acquisition part. The next is data engineering, where we stream and fuel the data. The last one is master data management and governance. This is where we try to store it, combine that data, clean it, and prepare it for this to start asking questions. I mean, and then we have the visualization, which is reporting. You all know Google Data Studio, and the last layer is the data science. Once we prepare all the data sources, once we are able to understand it, then it comes the data science. But normally, for these 3 layers, you need a data engineer or a team of data engineers. And normally for reporting and data science, you need analyst or data scientist. And that's why there are different solutions and different providers, which, the idea is just to have it in mind. About customer data platform, it is, they call it, this is the new fuel after their data warehouse, where the customer data platform, what it does everything what I mentioned, the first 3 layers. It gathers different data where it comes from different places, combine it, and make some smart segmentations, automate the user journey, and provide you a meaningful, some predictive analytics, which can help you this segmentation can help you to be better in your targeting via different channels. It can be email, programmatic, social, website, call center also, and in different other places. It is very straightforward, but still don't forget that customer data platform, they are built for developers. So still the concept is good. Some of the models are drag and drop, but still you need a kind of a customer developer support. About the providers, there are a huge amount of providers. You can there is even an institute, Customer Data Platform Institute. So Google it, find it, and currently I found so many providers. Probably there are even more. So you can play with some, you can watch video just to get the understanding of what they are doing and how they can make your life easier. And the main idea here is that it captures and combines different sources of data, and you are able to track your customer via different channels, where it goes, how it converts, did he change his device, and then once you know this data, you will know how to segment it. And this is the first three layers, which is depending of the pricing, you can take your decision and choose how to make it. But once you have customer data platform, it comes what we are going to do. What we want to achieve after that is the applying different models. So different models and visualize it. The first part of visualization, again, there is a huge amount of providers. Here is some of the ones which you know. It's, I mean, Tableau, SAP, Cycle, Power BI, QuickSense, and one which you know very well is, you need to know Google Data Studio. Something which I added here is, according to me, is the Mercedes because it's open source and it comes from the Airbnb open source project. But it doesn't matter. At the end, you need to pick one tool for visualization. And once this is done, then you need to choose a platform. How to experiment, and what you need to do. Itself, data science platform, they step on a storage layer on the database, on the way you store all of this. When I call database, it doesn't mean relational database. It means various kind of data. Data science platform, they can be when you write code or when you are able to drag and drop different objects. It's a little bit hard. Sometimes you need time to get used to. Again, there are a lot of models. There is, I mean, from Amazon SageMaker, from Google AI, different models which can be applied, different platforms which can be applied. But something which we notice is that for this data pyramid, you have customer data platform and data science platform. It's tough, but here we at ShopUp decided, can we make this out of the hands of e-commerce, and can we offer something which combines them all? It took us a lot of projects. We have more than 20 projects to work on that, and at the end we created a platform called Catwing, which is doing almost the same. It steps on the predefined data sources. We make the data preparation. We run the models which each e-commerce website is choosing from. We have a set of more than 20 models, which you can see in shopup.me website about what kind of models you can apply. There is a visualization, and then comes the customer who is happy with that. So in terms of models, we define them in 4 main areas: relevant to audience, relevant to products, channels, and campaigns, which can be optimization, assessment, and different kind of directions. So generally, I try to be brief and to cover all of this. We have different customers from UK, from, I mentioned US, Canada, and many from Bulgaria. And not only Bulgaria, within the Balkans. And generally, that's it. That's it, my presentation. I assume it was hard to comprehend, but something which I would love to, if you at least understand this pyramid, that if you want to make science or not science, machine learning, AI or whatever, you need to structure your data. So you need to take sometimes, and you need somehow to do it. And I think that's it. For any questions, our website is shopup.me. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook. You can contact us wherever you want to. And I think that's it. Thank you. Now I'm stop sharing. So I will ask all the panelists to see them, to switch off their microphones and cameras. And I was having some questions prepared, but I see a lot of them have popped up from the Q&A session. I will ask you when you are replying, not like 1 or 2 minutes, because we are running out of time. So there are some generic questions. So what are your top 3 advices to help e-commerce business grow?
I think Yura summarized it well, like paid traffic. Well, actually, the 3 things that we've discussed today: have a highly converting store, optimize your paid traffic with user-generated content, and have a solid retention marketing system.
Exactly. You take the main idea from each, and there you have it.
Okay, then that's perfect. Do you think that COVID-19 pandemic has had a positive influence on the global e-commerce?
Yes.
Yes.
For sure. Of course.
I mean, just from what I've seen, I mean, when the pandemic started, all our clients panicked instantly. They all stopped any conversion optimization efforts, anything. They said, okay, we're pausing. And I think in a month or 2, they all came back, and I think we doubled the number of clients just because everyone was focusing on their e-commerce and not on their store. So yeah, for sure, it helped. I mean, I see an increase in demand and also in the sales the clients are actually getting on their stores. So.
Okay, there is one question which was wrote when Yure presented, is why do you think is email marketing vital for the e-commerce business?
I think actually the 2 speakers actually sum it up. Ahmed actually tell it like really good why email marketing is important, because I think if you are not working on a retention side in 2021, you don't have a business. So I believe that you actually need to focus on email marketing, SMS, push notification, and so on, because with that you actually increase the margins. So you actually, this is like a profitability channel for you, and that helps you actually also invest more in the upper funnel, so on the paid social, the influencers, and so on, and also of course in the CRO. So I believe this is actually the core that you need to do to enable you to actually invest more in the other parts of the journey.
Probably another thing that I would love to add is for email or retention channels, or even the website, you own these platforms or these touch points with the clients. Unlike with I don't know, paid ads, usually you have to pay to be seen. You have to pay for the impressions. You have to pay for the attention of the customer. However, when you have them on your store, when you capture their emails, when you have them in your customer support, you own that customer almost forever. You have, like, if you don't have an email list, basically you don't have a sustainable business.
Okay. We have one question, which is for how to trust third-party apps or business with our data.
I think this one is for you.
Okay, here how to trust third-party apps or business with our data. Something what we I'll be fast. Here, first of all, we have NDAs and all this stuff, which is normal part of it. We have a lot of regulation in Europe, so we follow these GDPRs and all this stuff. And something else is that we use secure platforms like AWS. It is about Shopify apps. So it's again.
I'm partners with a bunch of them. I work with a bunch of them. I know them personally. I know the people behind them. Like the question is, I don't know. Like, what do you mean with like? Did you have a case where they kind of, or I don't know, misused your data, or because usually that's the core of their business. If there's a, I don't know, if there's a problem or a leak about like them misusing the data, then usually they go out of business because everyone will be trashing them. So I wouldn't say that those third-party apps would do it. So I don't know. Maybe for partners, they share the contacts of their customers with partners for us to, I don't know, reach out to them and cross-sell them or offer them offer them like let's say compatible services or complementary services. But otherwise, I don't see a point of them misusing your data.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it really about the data stuff. It's like, do you want to take advantage of data and share it, or you don't? I mean, this is at the end the final question, and I think all four of us, being in such kind of like a providers, like service provider to the companies, have used to. So if you are curious and you want to learn more, share it. And one last question is for Andra. If business owner could only do one thing for customer research, what would it be? And yeah, and we are finishing because we are 2 minutes.
Very short answer. I would send out the customer surveys. I mean, if you're selling, if you do have clients, send out the customer surveys because you get the bad and the good, and there are people that actually took out their wallet and paid for the product. So they're more reliable than those that are just window shopping at some point. So that's what I would do as a business and what we do. Great.
Okay, so thank you all. Thank you for thank you Jure, Andra, Ahmed, for that great talk. These great talks for this presentation. It was really a pleasure, and I will love to have a separate chat with all of you just to share what we are doing and can we help each other because we are working in one domain. And there is a strong synergy once we are offering such kind of different angles of services. So I want to give a floor to the organizers, and thank you all again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergey. Thank you, all those speakers. It was really interesting for us and really have great time. Now we have 5 minutes break and we are ready with the next panel. So just stand up, move your legs and come back here 5 minutes and we are ready for the next session. Hello, everyone. I'm back here with the next session in the European E-commerce and Digital Marketing Week. We are on the second day and really excited. We have hundreds of viewers and really interesting. We're sharing live in YouTube and in Instagram. So we are going to the next with the moderator and a friend of mine, Peter Diaksov. A few words for him. Peter Diaksov, founder and marketing director of Tendrik, a performance-driven digital agency with a team of 25 plus skill specialists, mainly based in Bulgaria. He has more than 10 years of experience in e-commerce and digital marketing for around 8. His knowledge and experience in fields has helped him to create and manage several business in e-commerce field. He has a master's degree in international business from Aston University and bachelor degree in business management from the University of Essex. He believes that sharing ideas is important, so in his free time, he is a lecturer in various events in the field of e-commerce, marketing, entrepreneur, and personal development. He is also a and really much appreciate his high-level specialist in digital marketing and SEO field. I'm really proud to have him here with us, and I want not to delay. Let's start and give him the stage and tell more about him from himself. Thank you. Hi, Peter.
Hello, everyone. I'm really glad to be here to this virtual event. I want to thank first the team of Digital for Foundation because you're doing a really good job and you're making this happen. So virtual applause for all of you. And I really appreciate what you're doing. I hope that this panel is going to be very useful. So I encourage every participant to write down the questions that he or she has, so we can discuss them, so we can answer them, because the specialists that they're here with me today, they're really good in their field. So I'm sure that we can give you some value out of it. So feel free to ask whatever that you need to know. And I'm not going to speak a lot about myself, but my experience is mostly in the European market and especially in Eastern Europe. So it's something that I can contribute with. And everything that we want to do in our agency, Tendrik, it's to drive results most of our customers are e-commerce businesses, and I would say that currently around 70% of our current clients are actually online businesses that they're with e-commerce model. So I'm not going to present anything today for you, because with me there are three really good specialists that they're going to share with you some interesting ideas and their experience. So I'll start with our first speaker for the day, Agnieszka Włosowska. She is a content marketing manager at Lockheed Heart, which she's responsible for content strategy and creation, multilingual communication, SEO, and localization consultant, experience in marketing, localization, and film production, translator for the arts and the film industry, member of the board of the Fashion Revolution Poland. She's going to speak about the consistency, personalization, and language in fashion omni-channel solutions. So, Agnieszka, I give the word to you, the floor. So I'm really interested what you're going to share with us today.
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Perfect.
Great. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you for the great introduction and presenting my profile, as well as the very long title of my today's presentation. Even though the title is so long, the actual presentation is going to be quite concise. I would like to share my screen with you in order to show you this presentation. So just give me a second and I will dive right into this. Okay, so now you should see the title page, title slide. Can you see it?
Yes.
Well, perfect. All right, so consistency, personalization, and language in fashion omni-channel solution is something that is, as I've already stated, very long, but it is actually a very interesting subject matter, where what we have to do is combine the specificity of the fashion industry with the very specific things that we do online, which actually are not always in line. We like to think about the internet today as a very visual medium, but it is not always so. So in my presentation, I will definitely tackle this slight problem and how it can be solved. So let's begin. The first thing I like to say is this: what makes omnichannel really impressive is a consistent message. And this is actually what omnichannel is about from the consumer's perspective. It only works if it is really consistent. Whether we are at a store, whether we use an app or browse a website or see an ad online or an offline billboard, we should see at once, this is it. I know, I recognize this brand. I know who they are. I know what they are. I know what they mean, and I know what they can offer me. This is actually very straightforward and natural, but in order to achieve this process, we have to perform a multitude of different processes and take a different approach for each industry. Fashion as an industry is extremely visual. So when you think about fashion, the way they achieve consistency in omnichannel and everywhere else is through visuals, through their graphic design, through the styling of their models, the backgrounds, the prints, everything that we see. So it's very visual. But the internet isn't that visual. We'd really like to believe it is, but actually, when it comes to bare facts, algorithms still focus on words. Of course, they learn. Lots of startups and companies and governments are working on visual identification, but it is still not as good as we like it to be. And while those algorithms can recognize like a dog from a cat, it's not, well, the technology is not yet able to differentiate between very nuanced styles. And that is actually what fashion is about. It's very nuanced. One brand can only be differentiated from another brand through very small differences that are immediately perceivable to customers, but maybe absolutely invisible to current algorithms. So the internet, when it comes to e-commerce, omnichannel, is still very much dependent on words. So whether it's what we type in the search engine or in a shout box or in a chat box, when we talk with a chatbot, it's still words, and it's often keywords, even when it's help content, even when we're discussing delivery methods through the chatbot. It's still based on keywords. So actually, we must type in order to purchase in an app, online, but also in a store. There are more and more companies, stores that change their stores into very powerful technological engines. Example from Poland, eobuwie is a group, a huge company selling shoes, not only in Poland, also in the whole of Central Europe. You may recognize the brand CCC, and they turn their stores into digital machines where in some of them there are no more shoes available on display. You just see tablets and you type what you want to buy, and then a machine or a robot or a shop assistant offers you the product from somewhere behind the wall, but you cannot see the shoe before. You just have to find it on the tablet or on a huge screen. So you have to type still. You have to follow instructions. You have to understand what they want you to do. And it's not always very clear. Sometimes it's very messy, actually. Companies still learn how to do this. And sometimes with great visual design comes terrible UX design. So actually, UX, user experience, is something extremely important in omnichannel solutions. And we have to remember that it is very much word-based. So it's basically written communication. User experience in many cases is just UX writing. And in order to understand how that works and what we need for that to achieve, you can look at these 4 points. User experience and consistency when it comes to language. You need this to be able to learn what to do, what the system expects you to do, how to operate it in order to achieve your goal, to buy shoes or buy a handbag or buy a dress, whatever. So you have to learn it. When you learn it, it becomes familiar. When it becomes familiar, you gain confidence. With confidence come efficiency. You can work efficiently because you learn what to expect. Let's take any system. We know what to expect when we hit OK. We know what to expect when we hit delete. We know what to expect when we hit cancel. But many of those e-commerce, especially those innovative e-commerce solutions, are still very imperfect in these terms. And customers don't always know what to expect when they hit this or that button. So in order to gain the customer's trust, we need to give them this learnability, familiarity, confidence, and efficiency. So then when they expect something and the expectations actually come true, then they can trust us. And with trust comes safety. And once the customers feel safe, well, then we can do everything with them. So actually, this is a very important process that we have to consider while designing our systems. And it is very much word-based. It's content writing, it's user experience writing. It is just work for great copywriters and researchers. So, okay, so we have this trust, but what else is needed? In research, two things are apparent. The first thing is that omnichannel only works when it's personalized, otherwise it's pointless. It is also necessary to give a nice, a pleasurable, a fun experience. This is what customers actually want. But how to achieve personalization and fun, which actually we all love different jokes. So fun is also something that is very personal and should be, in a way, personalized, at least adjusted to different groups. But if it can be personalized, even better. How do you combine personalization with consistency? This is the question many brands ask themselves, and many brands say, you can't do this, so let's do this, whatever. But actually, it's not true. There are dozens of companies that are based online. Think about companies like Slack or MailChimp. Their services are actually online services. They have never had stores and customers coming to them, to their stores. They had to build their communication with customers from scratch based on consistent messaging and personalized messaging. Thanks to that, they have been able to build such a huge and wonderful presence and their success. So when you look at those companies, both Slack and MailChimp, they actually share their communication architecture online. You can find it, you can search it on Google and simply find their user experience writing, their guidelines, their style guides, and all the things that they take into consideration when writing. So when you analyze this kind of materials from different companies that are really successfully communicating online, you can draw several conclusions. And the one that is very important for omnichannel solutions, especially in fashion retail, where it is so difficult to find this glue between the like the fascinating visual communication, this beautiful visual side, and the boring text that has to be there. It is extremely important to do three things. So first, you have to define your voice. Your voice is your values. Your voice is who you are. Your voice expresses your company just as a person's voice expresses that person. My friends, families, and acquaintances, my co-workers, and many people I've only met over the phone, they recognize my voice immediately because voice is unique. So you have to define your company's or your brand voice. Then you define context. Every context needs a different voice, and context, it is quite complex because there are many possible contexts. You can think about, okay, looking for inspiration, browsing for what I want to buy this season. This is one context. Paying for the product, it is another context. Looking at a newsletter, that is another context. Online, mobile interaction in social media, it's another context. But you can also think about contexts like, okay, teenagers have different contexts than, let's say, mothers. And when you're a big fashion brand, you sell products for both these groups and for many more. So you have to actually differentiate a great deal of different contexts. And then you take one context and adjust your voice. So you can think about it as an equalizer. Let's say that your voice, your company, your uniqueness is based on the fact that you are inspirational, you are fun, you're great for activities of different kinds. And then let's say that we're discussing a context of payment, So actually, which of these is important in payment? Is inspiration needed when you're talking about payments, when you're asking your customers for payment details? Or is being fun important? Or maybe being adventurous and liking different kinds of activities, maybe that is important? Not really. Usually brands have also different kinds of values in them. So you really have to dig deeply and define several different kinds of values, and then you can adjust them to each context. So say for teens, you would maybe be more about being fun, whereas for mothers, you might be more adventurous or whatever. This is just a hypothesis. So you adjust your voice to each context, and then bang, it's still your voice. You're still consistent. You keep to the same values. It's just, okay, in this context, we have a little bit more of that and a little bit less of that. And actually, this keeps you. When I'm at a job interview, I talk a bit differently. When I'm here with you, I talk differently than when I'm with my kids. So this is still my voice. It is still recognizable, but it's very personalized to my boss, to you, to my children, but it's still me. And this is actually what we have to do. We have to find the tone of voice that is right for each context. And now, coming to an end of my presentation, I'd also like to tackle one very important issue, because we're here in an environment of international experts. And actually, it is a very common misconception that when you go beyond the borders of your country, when you want to do international business, you have to communicate in a very specific way. You have to rid your communication of any cultural context or of any culture-specific jokes. It has to be very plain, straightforward, no idioms, no metaphors, basically no nothing, just dull, boring text. So I want to say this: do not do that. It is, of course, all right if you treat your content just as SEO content meant for bots or some different kinds of crawlers. But if you are actually communicating with people, do not rid your communication of energy and of the sincerity that natural language has, and with all the idioms and metaphors and jokes and cultural specificity, especially in fashion, because fashion is about style, and personal expression is not something you can easily globalize. We're talking about personalization all the time. Omnichannel is all about personalization. And then some wise people come in and say, okay, so now you have to globalize the whole communication because otherwise it will be difficult to translate. So actually, I want to say, if somebody says that, they know nothing about professional translation. So actually, if you treat your customers and your communication seriously and want to really do this in a very professional way that will pay in the long run, my recommendation is trust the localization people. There are loads of them: translators, multilingual copywriters, multilingual SEO experts. There are trans creators. There is a huge number of specializations of people who know how to take text, even text filled with idioms, from one country to another country, from one market to another market, and really do this successfully so that your customers in each market will get the right message and see the voice of your company and see that personalized offer in a consistent system, in a consistent communication architecture. So this is actually, oh yeah, I forgot about this slide. Don't tone down your voice. This is what I've been talking about right now. This is actually the end of my presentation. I hope it was as short as I intended it to be. And if you have any questions regarding this, I know it's a quite high level topic, so there wasn't much details because it would have to take 2 hours to go very much into detail. So if you have any questions about the details, feel free to ask me afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Agnieszka, for this wonderful presentation. I have a question for you because, as you know, in Europe, we have a lot of languages. I think there were 24, official languages, I would say. But and you were speaking about this voice that the brand has, but how we can actually keep it and transfer it to other languages? If, let's say, different people are going to translate it for us, and do we not risk something to happen and this brand voice just to disappear or to change or to switch from language to language? How we can prevent that? Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, it's the trick. You really have to do it well in order to avoid that risk. And the risk, well, it's always there. So it's a very valid question. When you're a company that is thinking about really going into new markets, especially into several new markets at once, it is extremely important to prepare for that process. So from the localization perspective, it's not that, okay, so I have the text, I copy the text from my website, from my communication, and I just send them to different translation agencies or translators in different markets, and okay, it's done. No, it's not. You have to prepare. This is a process that many companies save, economize on, or just aren't aware that this should be done. But what you should do is first define the voice. If you're afraid that you're going to lose your voice, okay, define it. Put it in simple terms of several examples. So this sentence is a good example of our voice. You could put it differently. Look, here is another example, but this is not our voice. So you can create like examples. You can also create a list of words that should not be used. You can create very specific style guides and guidelines. But in order to do that, you simply have to firstly think what the voice is about. And I know it's difficult because especially when companies grow organically from very small businesses, say there's a small designer, the product is great, people everywhere want to buy those clothes, and that person expands. At first, probably the designer wrote all the content herself or himself or asked a friend, and the copy, it was basically something that just came out of them. And it is a very difficult step to take something that was natural for you and to define it in terms of rules, of an actual style guide. But it is possible. And companies like mine do that for companies. And also there are how-to tutorials available online. So if you are aware that you have to do this, you can find ways and in simple steps, maybe a bit simplified, but especially on this initial level, that's better than nothing. Those steps will help you define the voice. And then once you have the voice, define the style guides. And with a style guide, all the translation agency and translators will know what they need to do in order to keep your voice intact.
Thank you very much. We started getting some questions, but once we finish with the presentations, we will start the discussions. So feel free, if you have a question, just write it down so we can answer it later. Okay, thank you very much. It was a lovely presentation. And our next panelist is known as the ROI Doctor, who helps small businesses to get on page 1 of Google and YouTube. He's also the founder of Baseline Labs, as a content marketing agency that specializes in e-commerce businesses and turns blog readers and YouTube subscribers into actual customers. In her past life, she spent over a decade at Fortune 50, 500 companies like British Petroleum, Microsoft, and one of the best global specialist media company in UK. She's also from UK, and she's Clarice Lin. So, Clarice, you have the floor to present us your presentation.
Right. Hang on. Yeah, thank you very much, Peter, for the introduction. So I'm very excited today to be part of this panelist discussion. And I have a very quick to the point presentation to share about how to get your small business, specifically if you have a Shopify store, to get onto Google listings. So let me pull up my slides. So if this works, so this should work. Cool. Can you see the slides?
Yes, perfect.
Awesome. Perfect. So this is a very technical presentation. There would be enough details, but not too much in depth on how you can actually do that. But the time is short, so I have a very short period of time to try to squeeze all this information. So get your pen ready and let's get started. Okay, this is me. I'm the ROI doctor who helps small businesses and e-commerce stores to get on Google and YouTube page 1. So today's presentation is similar to something that I've done before in Boston. So I'm very much into speaking and sharing my knowledge specifically around Google and YouTube. And these are some of the brands and companies I've collaborated with. And today's session is specifically about Google Shopping. I'm going to cover it briefly, give you an explanation, a bit of a background if you are not aware what it is about, or you might have heard of it and you are not very sure. And I'm going to share 10 top tips to minimize the challenges of setting this up, because it's free service offered by Google, but it's not very, very straightforward, I'm afraid. And there are a lot of information. So I've done this for a number of my clients to get onto Google listings. And it's been a bit of, it's an uphill and downhill. So I would say there's information, but there are also information that is not found online that I've encountered along the way, and I had to resolve them. So it took me a little bit of time. So I hope that with this presentation is going to reduce the amount of complexities that could crop up along the way. And then there will be a live Q&A if there's enough time at the end. So let's get into what's Google Shopping and how does it work. So if you have a Shopify store, that's going to be really straightforward for you. If you have like other stores like WooCommerce and BigCommerce, so the setup will be slightly similar, but also slightly different. So but I won't be covering that in today's presentation. I'll just be covering solely on Shopify store. So this free Google listings is basically Google decided in order that they want to be competitive with Amazon, they decided to offer these free services to all e-commerce stores. So previously, when they first launched it some years ago, it was a free service, and then they decided they want people to pay to play. So that's when you had like the shopping ads. But then last year, in April 2020, they decided, I guess probably it's a very strong reason because of the pandemic, everyone's at home, and they decided that this is their chance to get a bit of the market share rather than letting Amazon take up the entire market share of the shopping crowd. So in April 2020, they announced these free services for the stores that are based in the US. And then towards the mid-October 2020, they rolled it out to globally. So no matter where you are, if you have a Shopify store, this service is available for you. You just need to set it up. So what it means that when you have fulfill all the criteria to be listed on Google listings, meaning that you will be on search with all the other attributes of the product itself. Your product images will also be found on image search as well, with some of these product details so people can see it if you're doing an image search. And of course, your products will also be found on the shopping tab, the Google Shopping tab. So you don't have to pay for advertising to be found on the Google Shopping tab. So this is kind of how it works. So I've created a Google Shopping listing ecosystem just for your understanding. So let's go through it so you can better understand how you can put things into place down the road. So what happens is, in order for you to set your Shopify products to be found on Google, so what you need to do is basically you need a Google Merchant Center account, where basically it will get product details, information, stock, product description, title, everything gets this information from your Shopify store. You'll pull over to Google Merchant Center. So you have all your product attributes that you need, your product description, everything that's there, the availability, the price, whatever. attributes that's needed for your particular industry. So take note that for different industry, there are certain added attributes that would be essential. So I'll cover a little bit of that. What are the bare core essentials, attributes that you need to be included? And if you have a different industry, so that's something that you would have to do further research because there's not enough time to cover all the different industry attributes that is critical. So from Merchant Center, what happens is then this information will be sent to Google search. So if someone goes to Google and do the research, then your product information will be shown there. So Merchant Center is an account that you need to set up with. And then as well, you need a Google Ads account. And you might wonder, if I'm doing a free listing, why do I need a Google Ads account? So that's a bit of a tricky part. I guess ultimately Google wants you to transit from having a free listing to a paid listing. So even if you are not planning to leverage on that paid advertising, you would still need a Google Ads account. So that would sync up the information between Google Ads and your product information that you have sent over to the Merchant Center. And then you need to also link your Google Ads account to your Shopify store. So this all needs to be included. It needs to be set up. So if you don't have a Google Merchant Center account or you don't have a Google Ads account set up, then you can't set up your free listing. So that's basically in a nutshell how it works. So let's go on to the first tip. So one very important thing is when you're setting up all these different accounts, whether it is the AdWords account or the Merchant Center account or your Shopify store, you need one admin login ID. Don't create multiple. You need one because all the system needs to talk to each other. So keep that in mind. You need one admin login ID and it needs to be a Google Mail account. So if you don't have a Google Mail account, you can just create like a Gmail account temporarily for that. And then you can move on from there. And then this same admin login will be used across the Shopify store, Merchant Center, and the Google Ads. So that's one admin account. It will have all the privileges that allows the information to be pulled across the different system. And then the next thing you want to do is to set up your Google Ads account. So one tip I have is if you don't intend to run your shopping ads here to pay any money, what you need to do is you need to switch it to expert mode when you first set up your account, because what happens is by default, they send you into like a simple for anyone to set up like a Google Ads. So they actually, the default path is to send you to create your Google Ads campaign. So if you're not doing that, so you just want to create a Google Ads account for the free listing, you need to switch to this expert mode that's right at the bottom of the screen when you set it up. So you can skip your campaign creation and just set up your billing details. So don't worry if you're not setting up any campaign, no money will be taken from you, but you just need to have this set up. That's the core essential for that. So if you don't have that, because I had one of my colleagues working on it and she didn't switch to expert mode. So what happened was it kept asking her to build a shopping ad campaign. So if you don't want to go through that route and then basically you don't want to look into that aspect yet, so remember to switch it to expert mode and then you can skip the campaign creation and just have this account so you can link it directly to the merchant account and to your Shopify store. So when you have your Google Merchant account set up, so there's this part that you need to look into to set up as well, that Google needs you to have those information available, is to have your returns information for your customers. You need to have your returns policy set up properly. And very importantly, you want to put in your company's contact information. That means it could either be like an email address or your physical address. So if you don't have a physical address, you want to put your phone number in. So what happened was my client that I was working with, they only had a contact form. They don't have an actual email address that people can email them. So Google didn't accept that. They said a contact form that people to fill in to submit to the store is not considered a form of actual contact in their dictionary. So you actually need to provide like an email for them, for customers to email you, phone number and address, so you can have at least either of those two. So if you don't want to put in your phone number, you don't want to if you don't have a phone number, let's say you're like a Shopify store, some of the e-commerce stores might not necessarily want to set up like a phone number. They just want email and an address. You can just put both of them in and it would also suffice. But remember, if you have a contact form, that doesn't count. So you need to use an alternative. So tip number 4, when you set up your Google Merchant account, you also want to take into consideration your shipping information. So if you haven't set up your shipping information, maybe in your store, or if yours is not that complex, you can actually set it up as well, your shipping costs and your delivery schedule on within the Merchant Center account itself. There is a function for you to key in all those information. And this information ideally should also be found on a web page on your store. So you want to have like special page for your shipping details as well. So you can put that in. So it's a way to show Google that, okay, this is exactly how you operate, and it also gives them confidence to show to potential customers for you. So if you don't put that information on a web page, so that could be slightly tricky as well. So if you have this shipping costs, put them onto a page like shipping information, because that will be one of this URL that you have to submit when you fill up your Google Merchant account details. So what I'm covering right now are kind of the bare essentials that you need to have it up and going before you can actually get your products listing onto Google. So these are kind of the details which you need to keep in mind. And tip number 5 for Google Merchant account, what you need is sales tax. So some of you, if you're operating more in the Europe zone, there are certain sales tax which you might have only one single number that you would put in. However, if you are planning to ship to, for example, a country like the US, you would still need to fill up your sales tax, even if there is no tax, because in the US, they have actually different tax rates for the different states. So, but then if you're an e-commerce store, it's one of my clients, they do international shipping, they sell swimwear, luxury swimwear. And what happened was, even though there was no tax included, so if any tax, that would fall onto the responsibility of the customer to declare if they're buying it, to have those sales tax. But on their end, they're not charging any tax. So you still have to key in those information to say it's 0%. So if you don't put in that information, your Google Merchant account will not be approved. So keep that in mind. If you have other local sales tax, you also have to key it in. So this information should be consistent on your store, and this information should be sent to Google Merchant account as well. So you can set it up directly on your store, or you can actually set it up in the Merchant Center. So tip number 6, this is super important, linked accounts. So if you have seen my ecosystem earlier, you can see how the different ecosystems are connected. Each of the systems are connected using one email ID. So what you need to do is actually to fill up this linked accounts that's found on your Google Ads account, your Merchant Center account, and your Shopify store. There will be this part where you need to link all of them together. So you need to check the settings of all this accounts. So in your Merchant Center, you need to check its link to the AdWords and Shopify. And in your Google Ads account, you need to check that it's linked to Merchant Center, as well as on your Shopify store itself. You need to install a Google app, part of your store, so you can actually connect and set up a connection to AdWords and Merchant Center. So instead of downloading it on Shopify first, which was what we did for one of the clients, and what we realized that actually the system wasn't connected, because you actually need to set up your Merchant Center account first. And then there will be this button that you can click on to say, go to Shopify account and set it all up. And then you install it so you can actually connect. If you actually set up your Shopify Google app in your Shopify store first, somehow the connection doesn't seem to work. So keep that in mind. Set up your Merchant Center and AdWords account first before you install the app on your Shopify store. The sequence is important. So I had no information from the Google account team to find out what exactly was the problem. But what happened was, in the end, I had to like disconnect the connection at Shopify and reconnect it again, because of this way the sequence that I had set it up. So this is one tip for you, so you don't have to go through the hassle and wonder why your Merchant Center account is not approved. So this would actually affect the approval of your merchant account, because from Google's end, they find what they see is your Merchant Center account that you have created is not connected to your Shopify store. So that's very important information. So once you have all those linked accounts set up, this is how it's going to work. That's why you set up the Merchant Center account, Google Ads, and then you connect to Shopify. And then once everything is completed, all this information will be pulled to Google, search for potential customers to find your products. And tip number 7 is a country listing. So depends on where you are shipping your products to. So there are specific details that you need to fill in. So for example, if you want to sell to Japan or you want to sell to Korea, there are certain business numbers that you need to fill in. You need to register your store. So if you don't intend to sell in that market, remember to make sure that you kind of uncheck those boxes and select those countries that you're actually submitting your approval for. And for those complex countries, you can decide later if you want to do that. So another one of these examples was that one of the skincare products for one of my clients, because it was skincare products and they had some whitening serum. And what happened was because there was some mass product. So I think in Israel, they had some unique regulations around mass products. So that was kind of like another Pandora's box to open. So if you don't intend to, if you have certain products, you need to check to see if there are specific listings or unique restrictions or regulations for those products, and maybe you want to exclude that because it's actually quite a lot of hassle. So if you select all the countries to be listed and then you have these specific regulations, then your entire listing can't be listed yet. So what I would recommend is if there are specific country listing that's causing the problem, remove those countries first and then focus on those countries that you want to ship to and sell to, and then that would be easier. So there are, of course, others that I won't be able to go into depth here, but keep that in mind. So if you have any problems in terms of country listing, you know that, okay, there could be specific regulations in that country for that specific product for your store. So the next thing is tip number 8 is having auto updates. So you want to actually select this option, automatic updates in your Merchant Center, because what happens is if someone buys your products and the availability goes down or it becomes out of stock, you want this information to be automatically pulled from your Shopify store to Merchant Center. So if you set this up, then you don't have to worry if you have any price changes whatsoever. Don't worry, it would just run by itself. So keep that in mind, set this up as well, so you don't have to worry about that once everything is put in place. So tip number 9 is setting up a content API feed. Basically, it might sound a little bit very techy, but what it basically means is to pull out this information, this data source, and its API. So when you connect all those accounts, it's providing a connection. So all these different attributes of each products, of all the products that you have, get sent into Merchant Center account. So Google has listed out publicly what are the different attributes you need to have. So there are 2 listings that I haven't mentioned that I will cover now. Is that under free listings, there is the free standard listing, which enables your products to be shown on Google search and image. And there is the enhanced listing, which is also free, but it allows your products to be shown on the Google Shopping tab. So for your products to be shown free on the Google Shopping tab, you need additional attributes. So I wouldn't go into the detail yet, but just to keep that in mind. So if you have certain attributes that that's not being covered, you can check out. I've actually put the resources right here, so you can just go straight into them and see the particular details. So what you can focus on is to get it out on standard listing first, and then you can work on enhanced listing if there are certain attributes that you have not included them. So for certain attributes, there could be more attributes needed for certain products in certain industries, and then for other products, they might need less information. So you have to make sure you fulfill those criteria, which Google list has compulsory, because if you don't do that, then you would have a problem there and Google will not approve your products. So the last tip that I want to highlight as well is when setting up this account to make sure the products are being listed on Google, there are two types of issues you will encounter on your Google Merchant Center account. So what you want to keep in mind is if your company information is not complete, they need more information. For example, like what I mentioned earlier was not having a number, contact number or email address. So that would fall under company information. So if your company information is not complete, or if your delivery information or tax information is not complete, that would be under account issues. So account issues is the basic. You need to resolve all account issues before any products will be shown on Google. And once you have that approved, you could also encounter product issues, which means like your product attribute completeness, if you don't have enough attributes. So you're not pulling the correct number of attributes, or it's not in the right format. So that would also cause a problem. So some products might, for example, if some of your products, their images doesn't fulfill Google's criteria, so that could also cause a problem. So they could disapprove individual products, and this is when you need to resolve them individually. So you need to resolve all your account issues first. All your accounts are connected to each other, and then that's the second part, which is the product issues. So if you have one product which is not approved, your other products can still be shown on Google, but you need to kind of complete that. The other thing is, once you have everything that's completed, it's one thing you need to do in the end is to get your patience cap on, put on your patience cap, because the other thing to keep in mind is once your account has been disapproved or rejected for some reason, and then you resolve the issue, you can't do anything to re-accelerate the approval process. You have to wait it out, because that's kind of what I did. I talked to the Google team, and then they say, oh, it will take about maybe 2 to 3 weeks, or at least another week for certain issues to be resolved. So I would definitely highly recommend you to get all this criteria or this compulsory fields to be filled out correctly as possible, because if you need a resubmission approval, what happens is it's going to take an amount of time, and because you are getting one of the free services, there is no status update. You can't really chase up on it. You just have to wait it out. So it might take up to 2 to 3 weeks, or like a month or so. So try to get all your information completed as much as possible. Check out those resources that I've sent you to make sure once you finish one complete submission, you can get a one-time approval as much as possible. But if you are working with clients and customers, remember to set their expectation on the approval process, because it can take a few weeks to get this sorted, and it's not something you can actually get them to be approved. But one thing is, one way you can maybe get them to be approved as quickly as possible is you start running Google Ads. So if you tell Google you want to spend ad money with them, I'm sure they have some workaround that they can help you with. But if you're doing free listings only for the time being, then you have to wait it out. And that rounds up my entire presentation. If you have any questions, you can also send me an email if I don't have time to cover all this information. But thank you very much for your kind attention. And I'll hand it over to Peter.
Thank you for this lovely and very useful presentation, very concrete. So I'm really interested about what you said. Really, I have not experienced so far free listings, so I will try it definitely and share my experience with you. So thank you. So our last presentation for today is from Michael Marr from US. He launched Amazon store and developed multi-channel strategy there. He also achieved double-digit growth for 6 straight years, and I think he almost made $400,000 in sales. But he felt that something was still missing, and eventually the circumstances brought him to that he started helping other people selling and promoting their businesses on Amazon. He now runs his own Amazon managed service agency, and he loves it. That's what he claims. They translate the brand stories into highly engaging product listings, and they help their clients insert their brands into conversions, and to increase their sales on Amazon. So I would like to give the floor to Michael Mark, who is going to give us some useful tips for Amazon.
Thank you, Petar, and thank you everyone for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's definitely earlier in the US right now, which is where I'm based out of, but I'm excited to talk. And I really just want to, at the end of my talk, I want you to be able to understand some of the important reasons why Amazon has been such a market leader in terms of e-commerce. There's a lot of things to cover in Amazon, but ultimately, I want to talk about how it's impacted both the consumer and the seller. And so I want you to be able to walk away with some of that information. 54%, that's the number of people that go to Amazon first to even research products. So not even necessarily when they're buying, but they go to Amazon first to research products. All the other search engines, so Google, Bing, et cetera, that's only about 26 to 28% of people. So there's a huge favoring towards Amazon when it comes to products and just totally outreaching something like Google, which has been an incredible organization and dominates in a lot of ways, but Amazon has surged ahead. In the past year, the pandemic has actually really accelerated some of that just general e-commerce growth. In the beginning of Q1 in 2020, or by the end of Q1, excuse me, e-commerce sales made up about 12%, at least in the US, 12% of total retail sales. And by the end of Q2, after the pandemic had hit, e-commerce sales became 16% of total retail sales. And in the years leading up to that, it had only been going up by about 0.4 or about 0.5% each year. So that's about 8 to 10 years of e-commerce growth, all within the past year, that have been super accelerated. And Amazon's been prepared to catch that, even though there were delivery issues and space issues when there was a need for some of these essential goods, and Amazon actually blocked a lot of sellers from sending in new inventory because they wanted to favor these essential goods. And even with that, removal of some of the, or pushing back of some of the goods that you necessarily wouldn't consider essential, that's helped Amazon still been able to capitalize on growth there. And we've seen brands, my agency included, grow exponentially. We worked with some brands that grew up to 100% over the past year. So there's been significant growth there. When it comes to the Amazon platform in general, though, I've come up with about 7 different ways that Amazon has really impacted the e-commerce and retail channels in general. And about 40% of e-commerce sales actually come from Amazon. So there's a significant portion of sales that are coming from Amazon. One of the first things, though, that Amazon has done is their platform, one, it's very all-inclusive. So there's advertising, there's content, SEO, logistics, analytics, all that stuff is combined into one platform. So I believe that that's very, very unique about Amazon. And one of the biggest differences on that marketplace compared to any other site where you could purchase products is that when you advertise a product, everything's very keyword based on Amazon. So when you advertise a product on a given keyword and a consumer purchases your product, that increases goes to your total sales, increases your product rank, and that can actually have an impact on your organic ranking. So that's something to consider. I know that there was talks about that happening with Google, but it was demystified. But with Amazon, there is a correlation there. We've been able to look at with statistical factoring, we've been able to look at how Amazon, how ads actually impact total sales. But the first thing is Amazon's platform actually determines validity of the product and other channels. So since 54% of people go to Amazon just to research product information or just when they're looking for products, there could be a buying intent there. We often know that there is, but when you go to Amazon and search for products, you could be in store. You could be at a big store. You could be at a Tesco. You could be at a Target, at a Walmart, and someone could just be seeing your product on the shelf and they don't know anything about it. And so they're going to Amazon to research on their phones and saying, hey, what do I know about this product? And if your product isn't on there, it could render your product useless or invalid to that consumer. So that's very, very unique to Amazon having a platform that affects people's purchasing decisions outside of their own channel. The second thing is Amazon's really put the consumers in control. They've made returns very, very easy. And we oftentimes see higher return rates on Amazon with our brands than they do on their own website. And so that can be a little bit concerning, but it's just important to know that Amazon has trained consumers to know that they can basically get whatever they want. We know that there's that, the customer is always right saying, and some people agree with that, some people don't, but regardless of how you agree with that, Amazon has definitely embodied that. The consumer is always right, sometimes to the point of a fault. So if someone leaves a review, when I was selling initially, I was selling iPhone cases, iPhone 4 cases, believe it or not, it was a long time ago. And Amazon, somebody purchased a product and they complained about the product not fitting their iPhone 3, even though the listing very clearly stated iPhone 4. And Amazon let that review stand because they said it was the buyer's opinion. So even if it's not necessarily factual, it can cause an issue, but Amazon has definitely put the weight on the consumer, even to the point of just making buying super, super easy. One-click buying. I've heard stories of parents whose kids order a scooter or something on Amazon and it arrives to their door and they think, I know to purchase that. And the kid says, oh yeah, I got that. 10, 11, 12-year-old kid, could even be younger. So they make it super, super easy. The third thing is that Amazon has created a very low barrier to entry into getting into e-commerce. For instance, you only have to pay $39.99 US dollars just to have a professional account to be able to access advertising and all those things on Amazon. That's a pretty low barrier to entry, considering in a traditional retail store, you'd have to get space, you'd have to hire people, you'd have to have all this stuff prepared in the back end to be ready for the public. And even with a traditional e-commerce business, someone that's digitally native, you have to get the store set up, you have to pay to get people there, you have to handle everything in terms of the website and hosting. Amazon takes care of a lot of that. You have to have your business prepped like any place, but you only have to pay $39.99 just to access a lot of these pro features, which is pretty incredible. But even though there's a low barrier to entry, there's a high barrier still to success. About 44% of sellers on Amazon earn between $1,000 to $25,000 a month. So that means about $12,000 a year to $300,000 a year. So most businesses on Amazon aren't multi-million-dollar businesses. And in fact, only about 6% are over $250,000 a month. 19% earn up to $3 million a year. So there's not a ton of people that are doing millions, but it is very possible to do. Some of the things that brands forget are the cost to advertise. That's a big cost. Even though you're on Amazon, you have to get in front of the right consumers. And then inventory. You have to have inventory. As soon as you start selling, you're going to need more inventory to supply. So there can be capital constraints that are a problem there. One of the fourth things is Amazon has actually made international expansion a lot easier. It's very easy for someone selling in the US, regardless of where you're based, to then say, hey, I want to sell in the UK. Hey, I want to sell throughout the EU. I want to sell in Australia, Singapore, UAE. There's so many new opportunities, and that goes for sellers. You can be based in Europe and be selling in the US, or you could be starting in the UK and then expanding over to the US. So they made it a lot more fluid process. You still have to have tax information figured out. You still have to have customs information figured out. However, they made it way, way easier. The fifth thing, and this is something that speaks to a low barrier to entry in getting into the marketplace, but it's very, very unique about Amazon. A lot of people speak, and I'm kind of, Amazon is a big part of what my agency does, but I don't see them as either all-knowing or all evil. I believe that there's a mix of stuff that's in there, but they've really built their business on the backs of small businesses. Starting in 1999, their third-party platform where anyone basically could access the marketplace generated about $0.1 million in sales, and it's drastically increased to the point where now that third-party platform was initially making up about 3% of all sales on their marketplace, along with their first-party vendors who have more of that traditional retail relationship. And it changed to 58% by 2018. So predominantly more focused on some of the smaller businesses. that are maybe not earning millions of dollars, but are providing the product selection, they're providing the price points that Amazon consumers want to see. And that's huge. A lot of people have wrongfully said Amazon has killed small businesses. And in reality, Amazon's just embraced the future, the technology that the internet, the digital space provide. And so they've excelled in that area while other people have held back and they haven't wanted to innovate and they haven't wanted to get out into the market and some of the changes that are happening in the market. And Amazon has been very vocal about that. So if anything, they've just leaned into trends and helped create new trends because of their innovation. The sixth thing is they've created a movement. So in the US, there's 147 million Prime members out of about 330 million people. So almost 50% of people in the US aren't just shopping on Amazon, but they're Prime members. They're paying 100 something US dollars, 120 US dollars. I believe it's $119.99. But they're paying for that Prime membership. And there's 200 million Prime members worldwide. And so the international markets have a ways to go. Some of the marketplaces that are out don't even have benefits of like Prime shipping, like Brazil. I'm sure there's something in the works that's going on there. They still don't have a fulfillment by Amazon service. And so that's something that still needs time to catch up to, but they've expanded internationally and they've really created adoption of their platform by saying, hey, we're going to give you stuff delivered in 2 days, now even 1 day, sometimes same day. We're going to give you access to groceries with Whole Foods. We're going to give you content. We're going to give you all these different services that are part of Prime. That's where I think they've had the most impact and been able to really create a movement. And then the last thing is that Amazon's hegemony is to actually help consumers. So in a lot of ways, when a business has a monopoly, and I'm not necessarily saying that Amazon does, Amazon is a platform. And so, like I said, they've worked with a lot of small businesses and grown their brand. So they've actually provided access. And so I think that's something that's missing in a lot of the antitrust talks that are going on. But ultimately, when it comes to a monopoly, a lot of times price hikes occur. There is a constraint on resources and distribution to those people. And Amazon's actually focused in on the consumer and help them. We know that they want to be the most customer-centric company in the world. So Amazon has focused on the consumer, helped to make prices better, helps to get better distribution. And that all ties back to Amazon's core principles, some of which are, being customer-centric and having a great customer experience and product selection. So the more that they can provide people, the better off they are. And they put the price that must be competitive between those who are selling, and not like some other marketplaces such as eBay that allow you to create a listing and do your own whole product listing as opposed to everyone selling on the same product listing inside of Amazon. So that's really what I had today, was just to talk about some of the reasons why Amazon has created this incredible movement of in terms of e-commerce and how they've changed the game. They've been trendsetters. They've whether you like it or not, they've pushed for $15 an hour in terms of employees. They're the largest corporate purchaser of renewable energy. They have Prime Day. They've created Prime memberships and 2-day shipping or in free shipping as being a Prime member. That's something that's now standard across e-commerce. And so it's just important for us to know and understand how they have impacted e-commerce as a whole. Petar, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you for this wonderful talk. We had a question, but I think with your talk, you actually covered it. So why do you think Amazon is one of the market leaders in terms of international e-commerce? So I think that you covered it, but if you want to give us more insight of it, or we can just keep it on.
Yeah, I mean, very quickly, Amazon has excelled internationally because of ultimately what they built in the US and how they've been able to expand that footprint. And they're really a trusted distribution network. So you're not necessarily buying their products, even their private label products are being contracted by other brands. So it's more of a traditional white label relationship, just like a big store would have. But Amazon's built something that's been able to be translated into other countries, but they haven't been without failure. Amazon went into Amazon China a while back, and they ended up pulling out of the marketplace because they had very, very poor market share. And that was just because companies like Tmall and Taobao really knew and understood culture inside of China and what the sellers were looking for, or the buyers were looking for, excuse me, and Amazon just wasn't able to compete in that level.
Okay, another question for Amazon. It's from Deep Half, and he's asking, Amazon don't give FBA, says their warehouse is full for US. Can you help, or like, do you have any information about it?
So Amazon won't allow FBA, says that warehouses are full for the US. So the short answer for that is that Amazon is starting to open up product limits. However, they have clamped down on how fast people are moving inventory through. So traditionally, you might see 3 to 4 turns throughout the year in terms of product. Amazon's wanting to make their spaces more efficient. They're now looking for close to 12 turns, which is incredible. I mean, that's a lot of inventory to have to organize and send shipments in. But Amazon's wanting that turn faster because they're limited on space. What I can say is they're going to, especially as they've never wanted to be just a distribution hub only for people. They want product to move. Let me put it this way. They want to be a product distribution hub. They don't want to be a storage facility. So they want to make sure that you're going through inventory and that you're not just relying upon them to store your goods. However, they're going to be more strict in terms of how much they allow each seller based on their own performance. And that, I believe, is going to help people overall. So someone that was sitting on goods for maybe 6 months and taking space in a warehouse from other people that are moving goods once a month, it's going to be more fair per seller. And as you grow and prove yourself, Amazon's going to allow you to have more space. If you're seeing a restriction that's happening, it's likely going to last throughout the quarter. So if you're seeing a restriction on goods during Q1, you have to make sure that your performance during Q1 is going to allow you to get goods to be moved in Q2. So if you don't perform well in Q1 and manage the smaller space that you have well, Amazon will continue to limit you. But if you change what you're doing and make sure that your distribution pathway is open and you're moving goods quickly, then you're going to get access to better storage.
Thank you. So question for all the panelists is first question from Eva Toms. How can a customer become loyal to a brand, considering the growing competition between the online-based retail organizations? What do you think? Everyone can jump in. Clarice, I don't think that we can hear you, unfortunately.
3. Yes. Yep. Okay. Yep. So, right. So a customer can become loyal. This is when branding and marketing comes into place. I think, like, for example, if you are like a new e-commerce, like the smaller e-commerce, you might not have that much of a budget to spend on ads and maybe global partnerships. So you want to be strategic about your audience. You want to, really know who your audience is, and then go onto those channels. Like, for example, like one of my clients, they have like this luxury swimwear. They are focusing solely on Instagram itself. I've been telling them maybe they should need to start having a TikTok presence, because depending on your demographics, you want to know where those people are hanging out. And I think last year, TikTok seemed to be going out of the picture, but I think they seem to be here to stay, and they have proved to be a very strong presence for like the younger demographics. So you want to consider where your audience is to build those relationships. You don't just want to, you want them to think about after they buy your products, is it going to be cool for them? They feel really happy about themselves. And this is how you can create very strong marketing messages through those different channels. So if you're like small and you don't have that much of a budget, like consider definitely like what I mentioned earlier about having free Google listings. Okay, put yourself out there. That's free for you. So that will be a good starting point, and then focus on specific, maybe 1 social media channel or 2 social media channel. Go deep down on it, channel all your resources, and then you can build up from there. I think that's very important, letting people understand about your brand, what your products mean to them, why they should buy your product. Yeah, compared to this other competition that you have. Yeah,
I would just agree with that and say that the best thing you can do to be competitive is to really nail that target audience. So really focus, don't worry about how someone in the same category could be selling more than you. You really want to get people engaged around that brand. And so if you can nail who you're speaking to and you know and understand what those pain points are, like Clary said, and you're able to show, hey, here's the solution that we create for you with this product, you're going to have brand loyalists, whether it's they're appreciative of the design, they're appreciative of the function of the product. If you're really able to nail that target audience and what's important to them, you're going to perform well.
Yes, I like to add to that, because I completely agree with what Clarice and Michael said before. It is also important to see how there are completely different ways of building loyalty when it's your owned brand e-commerce solution, and it's quite different when you are a seller, say on Amazon. But actually, it is a big concern that okay, maybe if I'm selling on Amazon and I'm not actually, you know, like a brand, I just sell different kinds of products, then how do I do that? Maybe it's impossible. But actually, there are also ways of building loyalty. And what Clarice said about social media, about our presence, also Michael said, it's all about the content and communication that we put in front of our customers. And actually, especially in terms of products, like even Michael mentioned before, phone cases, actually they come and go. People change them every other year or week or month or whatever. And okay, some people are looking for a new design, something crazy each time, but others just looking for functionality. They may buy time and again from you if they're satisfied with the product, with the price, with the communication, with everything that comes with this. So actually, there are ways for all kind of brands and sellers, and all kinds of e-commerce can really get to that point of building up loyalty through different kinds of communication channels and contents.
Thank you. Another question that we have is, what are the best strategies to attract new potential clients? It's a very open question, so feel free just to suggest whatever you think is the best way.
What are the best ways to attract new potential clients? Whoa.
There's definitely a lot of ways. But I mean, I really think it goes back to the brand story again, is, you know, do you know your audience? If you know your audience, and you're persistent, and like Clarice said, you're crafty and you use free ways to get in touch with people, you just really nail your audience. And I mean, for anyone that's looking to grow a brand, if you're not relying upon that, just from a business standpoint, if you're not relying upon that brand to bring in your income, you can start to build something and grow it over time and then shift into doing that. So, I mean, it might be tough for a year, 2 years, 3 years as you grow the brand. But when you're then able to focus on it full time because you've grown this movement of people, then you can start taking an income from it. So if you're really nailing that audience and you're getting engagement, I'd rather have 100,000 really engaged people that are, you know, if I'm an influencer compared to, you know, 10 million followers, that doesn't matter as much to me because I'm probably gonna be able to generate a lot more revenue for myself with the engaged audience. So it really is about the brand story.
Yeah, you should always consider also the specificity of your actual industry, of what you are selling, what you're doing, because in some situations, like your brand DNA doesn't really allow for this very straightforward expansion. So, for example, as Peter mentioned at the very beginning, I do not only work at Locked Heart, where we help fashion brands expand and sell. I also am an activist in the Fashion Revolution movement, which actually is all about, hey guys, don't buy that much clothing. It's really destroying our planet. And do you know, by the way, who made your clothes? So this sometimes for many people, this is a contradiction, but actually when you think about more sustainable brands, their strategies are very interesting. For example, one strategy is educating people, educating audiences into becoming their customers. So, okay, I am a chain store customer. I buy, cheap jeans, cheap t-shirts, but I tend to choose maybe those more organic cotton things because I'm a bit aware. So now they have all those other brands, those sustainable brands, have an opportunity there. That's a window of opportunity because they can educate me even more, tell me, say, okay, so all the chain brands, they do this and that, and did you hear about Rana Plaza and so on? And then they can show, okay, and we do it this way. We produce in this country, all of our cotton is organic. We care for the environment. We give money to the fair trade workers. And that way they can educate me into becoming their customer, into say paying a little bit more for a better, more sustainable product. Another strategy also for some of the sustainable companies, but not only them, all the chain stores do that as well. The huge fashion retailers basically started mostly with women's clothing. Then there's men's clothing, and then there's children's clothing. So why do those companies sell children's clothing? They're actually educating their future customers. So first the mothers or fathers buy the clothes for their kids, and it's convenient and they can do it all at one place. But later the kids will remember, okay, I've always been buying stuff at this store and it's convenient and it's comfy and I want this. And they're adults and they buy it anyways. And like the smaller sustainable brands can do the same thing. Like they have 1 or 2 products for an adjacent target group. So for the kids or for the husbands or for the wives, depending on what the core product is. And through that, they can check and find out if it actually works, if those kids or husbands or wives want to buy those products. And if they are actually successful, then they can expand and build up a new target group through expanding their product base. So each kind of industry and also each approach to being in that industry, like a chain brand or huge, global fast fashion brand versus a small sustainable brand, they can all find ways of doing that, but it really takes some consideration.
Well, thank you very much, Michael, Doris, Agnieszka. Thank you for this wonderful panel. I think our time is up now. For me, it was really interesting, and I hope that the people that they saw us live, it was helpful to them as well. And I give the floor to Lubomir to tell us what is next.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much. It was really inspiring session panel. Thank you, Agnieszka, Clarisse, and Michael. I really like what you say, and I have some things that I will try on our work. And after that, we have short break, and now we are moving to the video stream panels. We have big time difference between all countries and speakers in continue with this video streaming. And you can find it in our website, ecomeurope.com. We have panelists from Israel, Greece, Cyprus, United Arab Emirates, Germany, India, and also from Serbia, and also again from America. Then we are moving to next day. After next day, we have 3 key trucks, cybersecurity, PPC, and one I loved, social media marketing, and I really do to hear some interesting stuff. So everyone, thank you for participating, and thank you for the speakers for their passion and speaking and give their time to you. Thank you and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.